Hey guys, this is going to be a video about the Superintendent Doug Carter on the Delphi murders case. And there was recently an interview done with him a couple of days ago where he spoke again, basically directly to the killer who killed the two girls. And I want to explain why I think that it's really problematic that he keeps doing this, because he's done it before a couple of years ago. So first things first, we'll start with the one from a couple of years ago. So I'll play that now just to refresh your memory or in case you haven't seen it.
To the killer who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight. For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will. A question to you. What will those closest to you think of when they find out that you brutally murdered 2 little girls? 2 children. Only a coward would do such a thing. We are confident that you have told someone what you have done. Or at the very least, they know because of how different you are since the murders.
Okay, so there's just so many things wrong with that video, in my opinion. So basically, the first thing is the person who murdered the girls is obviously a psychopath. And as we know, psychopaths don't have remorse, they have zero empathy, they don't care what people think. So talking directly to him, and I don't know what the point of trying to shame him or attempting to guilt him into thinking, oh no, like what are the people around you going to think of what you've done? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. And saying that these people that are around the killer are going to somehow know because the killer is acting differently since what he's done. You can look at numerous cases of serial killers, and after they commit their crimes, because they're psychopaths, they can just completely go about their business, go back to their families, go off to church, do whatever the hell they were going to do anyways, and just act as if it doesn't happen because they're psychopaths. They don't they don't react in the same way physiologically as a person who isn't a psychopath will react to those type of situations or to being involved in something like that. There is no PTSD. So even that is just so ridiculous. For example, there was a serial rapist and murderer called Danny Corwin, and he really gruesomely, he would slit the throats of the women that he raped and murdered. And then he'd just go back to work. Literally within a half an hour after doing it, tied himself up, off to work, boom. He even, once they actually suspected of him of the crimes, he, the second time around, he was in jail and then he got out and then murdered a bunch more women. I won't even go into that. But anyways, once he got interviewed the second time, and the first time, he was completely nonchalant, neutral facial expressions, just kind of blasé, as if nothing was wrong. And even the second time he was interviewed, he passed a lie detector test. So that's what I mean about physiologically, they're not the same. They don't have the same responses to questions, those stress responses. People that are, say, guilty of crimes, that if they're asked oh, where were you? Or did you commit this? Or blah, 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 their heartbeat will get faster, their hands will get sweaty, that sort of thing. But psychopaths don't react in the same way. So they can pass lie detector tests. And some of them fail, but some of them do pass, are capable of doing that. So just this whole, I don't know, trying to make the psychopath feel bad just is kind of ridiculous to me. It makes it seem like the police have absolutely no idea how a person with a personality disorder to that degree that's going around murdering young girls thinks or operates. I just think that's crazy. Oh man. And then there's also the other aspect. if you have watched my other videos, you'll hear me talk about fuel a lot. People with antisocial personality disorder, which is a spectrum, so the higher end, which would be the, the dangerous psychopaths, they also require fuel the same way people on the lower end of the spectrum will be, the same way people with narcissistic personality disorder would. And fuel can be positive or negative, and it's usually like the responses from people that they use manipulative tactics with, or in this case, that they've murdered someone, and they'll get fuel from, say, media. They'll get fuel from a police officer directly addressing them in an interview format. And that, for a person with a personality disorder, especially as severe as this, is just another method of them to feel like they've gained control over the situation. And not just the situation, but over the police officers and the actual investigation. Bearing in mind when the clip that you've just seen, that was recorded a couple of years ago, and there was still a couple of years that had passed, so it was technically still a cold case, but the police officer is kind of making it seem as if it's not, even though it clearly is. It's been 5 years now, no one's been arrested. It blows my mind that they obviously have no idea of the type of person they're dealing with if they're presuming that guilt tripping them, talking directly to them, is going to have any effect. If anything, it's making them even worse. It's reinforcing their behaviors. So the next video clip is the one that I seen just the other day, which again, really, I was just like, oh, come on. So I'll play this now.
I know that everyone wanted to know why, and I wish we could tell them. Wish we could tell people and literally the world what we know. And one day we'll be able to, but today's not that day. I will just simply say that we have gleaned a tremendous amount of information over 5 years.
Okay.
And we would, if there was any meaningful reason to talk about it or act on it, we would have.
A couple years ago at a press conference, you said the killer could be in this room. Yes. Do you believe that your investigators have interviewed this person?
I'm not going to go there. I don't think it'd be proper for me to do that. But I do think that the killer will be watching this interview.
What do you want to say to him?
What the family says, today could be the day. Sleep well. Today could be the day. Maybe it's tomorrow.
If we're sitting here, February 2023, do you believe, based on what you know, not what the public knows, but what you know, that we'll be talking about an arrest?
You all are really creative when you ask me questions. Personally, I'm very critical of myself. And I certainly hope that by the time that my run here ends, that there's an arrest made. I think it'll be before that. And that's all.
I just can't do it. So, I mean, there's so many even problems wrong with that, okay? So let's say, even though it's been 5 years, which it's a cold case now, but for some reason there's been no arrest made, because obviously there isn't enough evidence to arrest anyone. All right, let's say that they do have enough evidence. Now they've just let the killer, the psychopath, know, we're going to arrest you. There's a really strong possibility we're going to arrest you within the next 3 years. So now he believes that, could kill himself, so there'll never be justice, could go on the run, and could completely change his identity. It just seems really, I don't know, irresponsible to kind of put that information out there when you know the possible consequences of putting that out there. It seems like that's the information that the police should keep to themselves. And then maybe there's other information like the recording and things like that that maybe they could have released earlier on that would have helped in the investigation, but maybe there's reasons as to why they haven't done that. But either way, it's just, to me, it just seems so silly to say that somebody's going to get arrested when they've been arrested for 5 years, and then the consequences of even saying that you actually could potentially make it even more difficult to arrest this person if you do have enough evidence, if that is even true at all. This could just be kind of a bit of a show to put pressure on the psychopath, which again isn't going to work because he's a psychopath. He doesn't give a shit. Another problem that I have with it is you can see it in that one, not as bad, but in the first interview, and I understand that he is human, and he cries and he shows his emotions, but he's meant to be the superintendent. He's the police officer in charge of the case. He's the spokesperson. He should be completely neutral. Emotions need to be took out of it, because you can't be emotive if you're investigating a crime, because that's how, you know, people get falsely accused. That's how you go down rabbit holes and all the rest of it. It's understandable, obviously, because 2 girls have been murdered. But at a time like that, when you're speaking to the world, essentially, like, it should be just professional. The emotions should be gone. And that way, with the psychopath, if he is watching, he might not watch at all. He might not give a shit. Like, he could be gone. He could be off murdering numerous people since these 2 girls. This could be gone, like, well in the past for him. But if he is watching, like, the mere fact that the police officer states that and talks about the serial killer so much is just so much fuel for him. It's literally like, you know, the ultimate euphoria. For a psychopath, especially one as dangerous as this, control and fuel over people, over situations, literally is life. It's like the blood in their veins. So talking directly to him, giving him this attention, making it known that he's getting so emotional about the fact that they haven't gotten him yet, basically, and that they want to get him. It's like, oh my God, it's like the best thing that the serial killer could have ever asked for. That's why when you see cases in history where the serial killer, you know, sends things to police and taunts victims' families, blah, 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 it's all the same type of stuff. They like feed off that. They love that. It's control, it's fuel. So yeah, you can just see from that perspective why this is just not a good idea, to talk directly to a serial killer on a worldwide scale in the way that he is doing it. I just find it really irresponsible that he keeps doing that. And when you think about it, it's very rare that you see police officers directly talking to criminals. The odd time it does happen, like in this case, but it's very rare. And there's a reason why it's rare, because that's not how it should be done, because of probably some of the things that I've mentioned in this video. But I shall keep it short and sweet. That's all for now, guys. And hopefully they do catch this guy soon, and you know, the case can be solved and the families can get a bit of justice, because it's been 5 years. And any case that's going on 5 years is usually a cold case, which makes it even harder to solve. But that's not to say that it might not be solved someday, hopefully. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. And yeah, I should have a video up on the Tinder swindler, who I also believe is 100% on the antisocial personality disorder spectrum, my opinion. I'll have that video up sometime in the next probably couple of days. So if you're into that kind of thing, I hope you stick around. Thanks, guys. Bye.